Sleep well, Your Majesty, Striga said in a smug sarcastic tone. Because it will be the last amount you will ever get. She picked him up and threw him over her shoulder before she teleported to Styria, appearing before Lenore and Hector. Hector was a human male, with chin-length gray-white hair. He had tan skin and wore a blue and black Forge Master uniform with his small forging hammer at his side. Here you go, Hector, Striga stated as she dropped the unconscious Adrian to the ground. Make sure he is strong, because the first place we are attacking is Kyoto. As you wish, Hector replied with a respectful bow. Striga didn't respond with respect or kindness, since she disliked humans, let alone men, and left Hector and Lenore as Hector picked up Adrian. Wow, he is quite heavy for a man his size, Hector said in surprise as he started to walk to his lab. I will have to take my time in forging him, Lenore. I hope you understand that. I do, Hector, Lenore said sweetly as she smiled, making Hector blush. Take all the time you want. Make something amazing. Hector nodded as they arrived. I bid you good night, Hector, Lenore said as she had work to do. Good night, Lenore, Hector replied as she left. Once alone, Hector entered his lab. It was basically a large dungeon, and inside were small animals that Hector had forged back from the dead, so all of them had exposed bones and muscle. I'm back, Hector called out as a gorilla night creature he made took Adrian from him with ease. Make sure to keep the silver bindings on him. He is the son of Dracula, so he is much stronger than normal vampires. The gorilla nodded and took Adrian to a stone slab, locking him in place with silver cuffs, and tore off Adrian's shirt and pants, leaving him naked. Hector, having rolled up his sleeves and donned an apron, took hammer in hand and walked up to Adrian. I can't wait to see how you turn out, Adrian Teeps, no, Alucard, Hector said as he raised his hammer and struck Adrian's chest, making the damper howl in pain, though he was out cold, as his body was slowly reforged. Carmilla, Striga, Morana, and Lenore heard Adrian's cries of pain and all smirked. Soon, old man, Carmilla thought as she envisioned Vlad and Lisa. You and your pet will be killed by the very son you love so much. She drank deep of the blood she had in her glass before shattering it across the ground, laughing at the thought of the despair and suffering Vlad and Lisa would undergo when they see Adrian next. 1 month later. Naruto, I am very worried, Hilda said through a communication magic seal. Adrian hasn't been home for roughly a month. You sure he didn't have a business trip? Naruto asked as he massaged Tamamo's feet, making his wife purr in happiness, metaphorically melting at his every move on her feet. I am very sure, Naruto, Hilda said in desperation. Can you send people out to find him? We sent people to check around Wallachia, and no one has found him. Can you check everywhere else? Naruto sighed as he stood up, making Tamamo pout at the loss of her pampering. Okay, I will send some people out to find him, Naruto stated, pinching his nose. Adrian, you owe me big for this. Thank you, Naruto, Hilda thanked. Yeah, pay me back by naming your kid after me, Naruto sarcastically replied. Call you back later. Adrian is missing? Tamamo asked as she stood up holding her 5-month pregnant belly. Yeah, but a few shadow clones will be enough to search for him, Naruto stated as he created 6 clones. Naruto and Tamamo heard something speeding through the air before it landed miles away from Kyoto in the woods, a small earthquake rippling through the earth. Naruto sensed bloodlust and confusion as he looked in the direction of where the crash was. Tamamo, evacuate the citizens and stay safe, Naruto said as he opened his Rinne Sharingan as he entered Six Paths Sage mode. I'll go see what this is. Be safe. Tamamo called out as Naruto flew off. I feel something ominous in the air. Lady Tamamo, we need to go. Damamaru and his wife said as they arrived, having heard Naruto's orders from a clone. Of course. Tamamo responded as she could not get the worry to leave with Damamaru, and the clones as Naruto, meanwhile, arrived at the crash site. A smoldering crater, 70 meters wide and 12 meters deep, was in the woods, and in the center of it was a creature. A smoldering crater, 70 meters wide and 12 meters deep, was in the woods, and in the center of it was a creature. It was as tall as a man, skinny and malnourished. It had long pure white hair, contrasting against its black skin. Its nails were long and jagged, which could be used for stabbing or cutting, and instead of a face, it was more like a rotten skull with muscle on it. Its eyes were just red lights under its hair. An undead? Naruto thought as he looked at the creature. But, it doesn't feel undead, but more like a vampire. The creature arched its back backwards, mouth open as it let out a monstrous and inhuman cry before it jumped up into the air, brandishing its claws at Naruto. Naruto! The creature thought as it recognized him. Naruto! Unfair truths. Styria, Wallachia. Our little servant should be in Kyoto by now. Carmela stated with a happier tone as she stood before Hector, Striga, Morana, and Lenore. Were you able to make the modifications that I requested? Yes, Lady Carmilla. Hector replied with the utmost politeness. It was difficult, the subject's body barely survived the process, nonetheless it was a success. Carmilla smirked, her fangs showing. Perfect, you have earned a reward, Hector. Carmilla stated as she turned to face Lenore. Lenore, grant any gift of your desire to Hector. Lenore smiled as she bowed. Thank you, Carmilla. Lenore said before she took Hector's hand. Let's go, Hector. Striga and Morana watched with slight disgust, since they were a gay couple and disliked the thought of bedding with a man. Don't give him that look. Carmilla lightly scolded. He made us the perfect weapon, so he has definitely earned it. If you say so. Morana muttered with a shudder. Kyoto, Japan. Naruto, instinctively, raised his hand as the creature jumped at him in a blinding speed. Shinra Tensei. He shouted as he caught the creature in his attack, pushing it straight into the ground. Wyyyyyyy. What the fuck? Naruto thought as he landed on the ground. The creature staggered to stand, facing Naruto as it took heavy breaths. Nar, Yuto. It spoke in a high-pitched, raspy voice. Roto. How does it know my name? Naruto thought as he activated his Byakugan and channeled chakra into his fingertips. I should disable his body, and then get answers after that. You never used the gentle fist style, so you going to randomly attack the pressure points? Kokuo asked in concern. Naruto nodded as he and the creature lunged at each other, striking it in the pressure points. What? Naruto thought as he noticed his chakra get siphoned from his fingers each moment he was in contact. His pressure points didn't stop him. The creature shifted, seemingly in pain as muscle fibers started to form over its shoulders and neck, as Naruto felt its power increase slightly. Can it absorb chakra through physical contact? Naruto thought as he deactivated his Byakugan. Seems like it, what are you going to do? Gyuki asked. Naruto watched the slightly refleshed creature as it growled. I don't know, but I have to be careful. Naruto thought as two truth-seeker orbs came to his hands, forming into bow staffs. At this, the creature let out a roar, open hand raised. What is it doing? Naruto thought as he carefully watched, waiting for an opportunity to strike. In the compound Naruto and Tamamo called home, a specific item shifted toward the wall. The creature roared again, and this item took off, breaking through stone and wood, whipping through the air before it landed in the creature's hand. That's... Naruto thought in disbelief as the creature swung the item downward, the sheath coming off the sword's blade as it gripped it tightly. No. Adrian? Naruto asked, mentally praying it wasn't true as the creature held Adrian's sword. He choked out painfully, before it growled. Alucard. Naruto raised both bow and blocked the rapier's strike. Adrian. Naruto shouted as he pushed the blade upward, tripping Alucard backwards, opportunity open. Naruto hesitated as he raised his weapons to attack. Naruto! Kurama shouted. Naruto blinked before he ducked under the rapier's blade before he felt Alucard graze his shoulder, ripping open his shoulder, taking a handful of flesh and chakra from Naruto. As Naruto cupped his bleeding shoulder, Alucard's flesh further stretched, now covering his face and torso. His face looked like Adrian's, but the flesh was pale, and his eyes nothing but crimson as his power increased further, now roughly the same level Adrian would be. Focus, stupid. That thing is trying to kill you. Kurama berated in anger. Shut up. Naruto shouted in anger. It's Adrian. That thing is no longer Adrian, moron. Kurama retorted. Kill it or I'll take over and do it myself. Naruto ignored Kurama to dodge thrust. Adrian, it's me. Naruto shouted as he did nothing but evade, thanks to his Rinne Sharingan. Don't you recognize me? Alucard continued to thrust his sword, trying to kill Naruto. If he drains my chakra, then he must have a limit. Naruto thought as he batted the sword out of Alucard's hand before getting in close and grabbing his throat. Using the chakra transfer technique, Naruto flooded Alucard's body with his chakra. Every ounce of chakra pumped into Alucard forced his body to recover more flesh and muscle mass until he was a near carbon copy of Adrian, his body having veins pulsating on his naked body, as he clawed and scratched Naruto's arm to get him off. Come on! Naruto thought in vain as he continued to push more chakra into Alucard. Come on, reach your limit. Kurama growled. That's it. I am taking over. Kurama shouted as he forced Naruto's consciousness down and took over, raising his hand with the bow. Sorry, Adrian, but I don't plan on dying. Alucard let out a pain scream, his flesh writhing and molding before it expanded in size, making Kurama retreat at the sense of danger. Son of a bitch. Kurama thought as he watched Alucard's human form be discarded as a pile of liquefied flesh as a monstrous alien-looking form with several pieces of different creatures on it. I told you to kill him, Naruto, but you had to make it stronger, because now it's roughly as strong as a four-tail. Deep within, Naruto punched the water-covered floor, as the eight-tailed beasts agreed with Kurama. Shut up! Naruto shouted as he gasped for air. I won't kill him. I can save him. Kurama felt Naruto try to take control back, but didn't let him as he created his avatar form. This is going to be weird. Kurama thought as he, now controlling his fox form in Naruto's body. But it isn't as weird as it could be. Alucard roared as it attacked Kurama, who jumped up, spun, and slammed his tails into him, sending him to the ground as a shockwave tore down trees. I won't let you get any closer to Kyoto, Kurama declared as he grabbed Alucard and with his immense strength, heaved the creature over his shoulder and towards the coast. Tailed beast bomb! Kurama shouted as the black orb formed in his mouth, launching it before Alucard could land, hitting him, proceeding to push him into the water miles off the coast. Damn it, Naruto, because of your stupidity I am not in top shape, Kurama thought as he deactivated his avatar, landing on the ground. An intense force struck Kurama's head. Stay out of this, Naruto, Kurama stated as he gripped his head. I'll finish this so you won't shoulder the burden of killing him. No, Naruto shouted in the tailed beast's psyche. It is my responsibility, so let me handle this. I have a plan. Kurama angrily frowned before he sighed. Okay, stupid, but if you start to hesitate, then I'm taking over, and the others won't let you stop me, Kurama stated as he handed over control to Naruto, whose eyes started to water. Before him, sticking blade first in the ground, was Adrian's rapier. He walked up and pulled it out of the ground. Adrian, Naruto thought, his will faltering before he bit his lip as he started to fly towards Alucard, who was recovering in the ocean. Please, give me the strength to succeed. Alucard, meanwhile, reached the coast and started to attack the citizens. However, before its body count could begin, he was pushed back into the water. Naruto hovered before Alucard with his eyes watered, but not shedding tears as his resolve was set. I will save you, Alucard, Naruto thought as all 9 of his Truth Seeker orbs merged together and tightly coated the rapier's blade. Alucard roared, the shockwave cutting the water and destroying nearby coast homes, as he faced Naruto, who raised his sword before him in basic fencing stance. Naruto flew forward, evading the massive arms and tentacles with ease before he stabbed Alucard through the head. With his mastery over his chakra, the Truth Seeker orb spread outward in massive spikes, impaling Alucard's brain and negating all the chakra and restorative abilities Alucard had. With pained roars, Alucard whipped its head around, Naruto letting go of his sword and successfully getting away as Alucard roared, acting like a wounded animal as the chakra and magic inside of its body was leaking out of its head and the holes the Truth Seeker orbs created. It started to shriek, the monstrous features breaking off and sinking into the ocean, as a single tentacle sprouting from its head stretched to the beach with the sword and Truth Seeker orbs now returning to Naruto as orbs. The tentacle started to break down into particles, the tip taking a human form with the sword still in its head, its regenerative powers reactivated due to the negation of the orbs no longer applied. Naruto landed before Alucard, its frail and weak human body looking around in a frantic panic as the water swayed back and forth, hitting Alucard. Naruto! Alucard gasped out. Naruto started to tear up, biting his lip. I can still sense anger, he thought with Kurama's negative emotion sensing. Whoever did this, I can't forgive them. Alucard reached out towards Naruto. Naruto's heart clenched, which was noticed by Kurama. Naruto reached out, making Alucard grin, but it was shocked as Naruto took hold of the rapier, activating his Byakugan. I'm sorry, but I will be sure to make it painless, Naruto stated before he ripped the sword from Alucard's skull, coated it in the Truth Seeker orbs again before expertly slicing Alucard's throat, wrists, ankles, and arteries open. Alucard's blood literally emptied itself from his body, dying instantly as Naruto deactivated his Byakugan and recalled his orbs. After a few seconds, Naruto dropped his rapier and knelt. Naruto, what are you doing? Saiken asked curiously. I am going to revive him, Naruto stated in hope as he applied chakra to Alucard's body, the injuries healing with his chakra. Once it was fully healed, Naruto closed his, focusing on the technique he knew he wanted to perform, his Rinne Sharingan. Ram. Naruto thought as he made the ram sign. Snake. Naruto continued as he made the snake sign. Naruto opened his eyes. Geto, Rinne Tensei no Jutsu. Naruto declared, remembering the face that this jutsu revived Fukusaku, and all the leaf shinobi Pain had killed during his assault on the leaf. Did I not do it right? Naruto thought in a panic as he charged more chakra. Ram sign, snake sign. Geto, Rinne Tensei no Jutsu. Naruto shouted, praying, hoping and wishing it would revive Adrian. Nothing. More. Naruto thought as his tears streaked down his cheeks as he proceeded to do the ram and snake signs a third time. Geto, Rinne Tensei no Jutsu. Naruto shouted with a choked ending. Naruto. Don't. Naruto shouted as he trembled. I can. You can't revive him. Naruto turned and saw a small girl he didn't know. Opha stared at Naruto, in her hands the sheath to his sword as she wore a gray kimono with her hair up. Shut up, you don't know what you are talking about. Naruto stated as he wiped his nose and eyes, turning back to Adrian's body. I just need to add more chakra. He is dead, and you are unable to revive him. Opha said again as she walked next to him, picking up the sword, dusting it off before she sheathed it. Not even with Rinne Rebirth, you can't bring him back. Naruto stayed silent as he trembled. Opha sighed. I don't know how to help in this situation. Opha thought as she had a blank look on her face. She was alone since the beginning. Born from the nothingness of the dimensional gap, Opha had little interaction with people due to her preference in not to. Until she met Hagoromo, fell in love, had her children, and then watched her family tear itself apart because of Black Zetsu. She continued to watch, seeing the reincarnations of Ashura and Indra fight, and now, she was faced with Naruto, Ashura's reincarnation, and his guilt of failure. If it is any consolation, Opha stated as she placed the rapier next to Naruto, propping it across his lap. The ones who did this was Carmilla of Vlad Tepes' court. Naruto, having heard this, ignored Opha as he started to cry, his wail of pain being ignored in turn as he punched the sand, powering down due to lack of focus. Upon seeing her son losing his shit, Opha walked away, her heart weighing heavy with each step. I'm sorry, Ashura. Opha thought as she vanished from this plane of existence, returning to the dimensional gap. Stay strong, I know you can do it. Before Opha was her mortal enemy, Great Red, ready for a rematch. Hours later, Wallachia. Lord Tepes, Naruto Uzumaki had arrived. A crying guard announced as the door to the gate opened, revealing Naruto carrying Adrian's body, sword at his hip. Hilda, who was currently 5 months pregnant, Vlad, and Lisa gasped as they watched Naruto approach them. Vlad and Lisa took notice of the thick tear stains on his face, the wet part of his chin wet as Naruto walked up to them. I am sorry. Naruto replied in a cracked tone with heavy amounts of guilt. I tried to stop him, but I had to do what was necessary. Hilda broke out crying as Naruto stopped before them and placed her husband before them carefully. What happened? Vlad asked as he held his wife, who was shaken to the core, nearly falling to the ground. Carmilla. Naruto stated as he looked the vampire in the eyes, which were wide at the accusation. She did this. She had Adrian turned into a monster. She turned him onto Kyoto, and I. Naruto grit his teeth as his guilt boiled over, falling to his knees and slamming his head against the ground. I had to kill him when I couldn't save him. He choked out as he started to cry again. Please, forgive me. Hilda hugged Adrian's corpse, crying as she held him, touching her forehead to his. Lisa, with Vlad's help, knelt next to Naruto, pulling Naruto up from his bow and into a tight, emotional hug as she started to cry. Thank you. Lisa choked out. You brought him home. I can't thank you enough, Naruto. Naruto hugged her back, unable to speak as he could barely form words. You said Carmilla did this? Vlad asked in calm anger. Naruto nodded. Vlad flexed his fingers, which made Naruto swallow the lump in his throat as Vlad was visibly angry. However, he took a deep breath and calmed down. What is your proof? Vlad asked, his voice showing restraint. I was informed by a strange girl. Naruto admitted. Vlad raised an eyebrow. He can't be lying. Vlad thought as he saw how Naruto acted and could feel his sincerity. I will deal with them, you go home, Naruto. Vlad said in concern. You need to rest. Naruto didn't move at all as Lisa stood back up. You aren't angry with me? Naruto asked shakily. Hilda hiccuped, wiping her nose. Why would I? Hilda asked. Why you saved him, brought him home, and now he. Hilda couldn't finish her sentence as she continued to break down. Naruto, go home. Vlad ordered as Lisa comforted Hilda. We will deal with Carmilla. Naruto stood up and pulled the sword from his hip, offering it to Vlad. This is Adrian's. Naruto reminded as he held it out. Vlad was in deep thought for a few seconds before pushing the sword away. You should keep it. Vlad said with a sad smile. I don't like using magical weapons anyway. Naruto wanted to argue, but the look in Vlad's eyes and the tone of his voice left no room for arguments. Yes, sir. Naruto muttered, bowed, and then walked out, the guilt he felt not leaving as Hilda's cries echoed through the air. Hour later. Carmilla walked through her castle, smirking as she felt accomplished. Lady Carmilla. A random servant said nervously as they approached her. There is someone at the gate. Send them away. We tried, but he refused, demanding an audience with you. The servant responded. Carmilla turned, glaring angrily. You disobeying me? She questioned, raising her hand to kill the servant before she felt her hand get grabbed and her wrist broken. Why. Carmilla hissed in pain before she lashed out to kill who was grabbing her, only to gasp when she realized it was Vlad. Carmilla. He stated in a dark tone as his scara became red with blood. You and your ilk shall pay dearly for the atrocity you have wrought upon my friends and family. What? Carmilla thought in fear as she was dragged down the hall as many more vampires appeared, all soldiers who fearfully pressed themselves to the wall to avoid the angry vampire king. Get the other vampires she is in league with and anyone who could use Forge Master magic, and bring them before me in the courtyard. Vlad ordered the soldiers, who shuffled out to get the others. Striga, Morana, Lenore, and Hector were gathered before Vlad and Carmilla. Instantly, all present fell under Vlad's dominance. Their skin crawled as fear of their king pumped through their bodies. Did you, or did you not, have my son, Adrian, forged by this human Forge Master? Vlad asked. Yes. Lenore responded. What was your plan with him? We were going to kill the human known as Naruto Uzumaki, and then kill you, take your throne and rule Wallachia," Morana admitted. Vlad's glare intensified. "And why did you decide this was a good idea?" Vlad asked his final question. "Because you decided to keep a pet, breed with it, and then give that abomination control over what should have been mine," Carmilla admitted. Vlad threw her into her council, Hector being moved behind him as Vlad charged up his strongest magical attack. "Demonic," Vlad stated as the four women were set ablaze by holy flames as the runic seal appeared beneath them. "Megiddo." Hector watched his masters get incinerated alive as Vlad stood in silence. "Wryyyyyyyyyyyy." Carmilla hissed in pain with her sisters before she glared angrily at Vlad, who was unfazed. "A curse upon you, Dracula, a curse upon your blood to be felled by man? Killing us won't bring your precious son back, Dracula." Vlad wasn't amused, and simply intensified his flames, instantly charring the souls of the vampire women, until not even ashes remained of them. There was a very uncomfortable silence as Hector collapsed to the ground. "How do I feel right now?" he thought as he looked at the scorched ground. "Do I feel better after killing them?" He, Vlad, who had done nothing to stop Carmilla, should have seen the signs that stated betrayal. With these doubts, Vlad didn't feel any of his anger vanish, it actually increased as he desired to have tortured them more. "Is this how you felt, Iroh?" Vlad asked as he remembered the day Iroh killed the humans who killed his wife. "Marco, you truly were the strongest of the two of us." Vlad turned to Hector with his anger still present. "And you?" Vlad asked coldly. Hector immediately bowed. "I will take any punishment you give," he stated in fear. "I willingly turned your son, so I won't beg forgiveness." Vlad raised his hand to crush Hector's skull, but stopped. "What is your name, boy?" Vlad asked as he put his hand down. "Hector. From today forward, you shall serve my son's wife," Vlad stated as he gripped his hands. "And you shall do this until the day you die." Hector counted his blessings. "Yes, sir." Meanwhile, Kyoto. Naruto drunkenly chugged a gourd of sake as fast as he could. Tamamo watched him sit in the garden since he got home. He had stripped from his kimono to his sleeping yukata, leaving his clothes and sword on the ground, and had not said a single word, audible sounds being hiccuping and crying. "I think you had enough, Naru," Tamamo said in concern as she touched the gourd. Naruto pulled it away from her. He went to talk, but ended up vomiting on the grass. Tamamo rubbed his back as he upchucked all the things in his stomach, her heart breaking as she watched Naruto destroy himself. Damamaru and Tashimi waited on the deck of the house, with water and a fresh change of clothing for Naruto. After several minutes, Naruto finished puking and clung to his wife, face in her pregnant belly. I. He hiccuped as he gripped her clothing. "Tama. I am here, dear." Tamamo whispered soothingly, one of her tails taking the sake and putting it elsewhere as she held him. "I am here." Naruto moved a bit, face planting into her breasts, holding her tightly. I killed him," he stated, tears and vomit coating her elegant kimono. "I am horrible, die." Tamamo rubbed his back and head. "No, you need to live," she replied calmly, being strong for them both since she wanted to break down as well. "You can live for him, Naru. Please, let's get you cleaned up and go to bed." Naruto stayed silent as he nodded into her swollen breasts. "All right, Naru, let's get up," Tamamo stated, which was when Damamaru and Tashimi moved over and helped them up. Damamaru took Naruto to the bath and cleaned him up while Toshimi helped Tamamo get ready for bed. Once dry, Damamaru dressed Naruto, which wasn't easy for the limp noodle drunk, and got him to Tamamo outside their room. Tamamo took her husband from Damamaru, and once the door was shut, she scooted him to their futon and carefully helped him get in. She took a breath. "Oh." Tamamo gasped as she cupped her belly. The baby kicked her. "I know, dear," she thought sadly as she rubbed her belly. "Daddy is sad, but hopefully, we can make him happy." With a soft, yet very happy smile, Tamamo got into bed, Naruto loudly snoring as he cuddling into her, face in her boobs, making her giggle while she wrapped her tails around him. Who is the true king? Wallachia, Romania. It was a quiet funeral. Vlad and Lisa watching as the coffin holding their son be lowered. Hilda watching the dirt-covered said coffin as she held her pregnant belly. Tamamo there for support as she held Hilda's hand as the last amount of earth covered Adrian's coffin. Naruto didn't come? Hilda hiccuped, expecting Naruto to be there. Tamamo sadly shook her head. I asked him to come, but he refused to come. Tamamo replied as she and Hilda sat down, their feet swelling from how long they had been standing. I understand. Hilda replied as she wanted to question why Naruto didn't come to Adrian's funeral. As the two soon-to-be mothers sat in silence, Vlad and Lisa left in silence, leaving some guards with Tamamo and Hilda. Sweetheart? Lisa asked as Vlad squeezed her hand. Lisa. Vlad said weakly as he kept his emotions in check, refusing to shed a single tear. I know I made this offer once, and you refused, but... Lisa pressed her finger against his lips. I know, you want to turn me into a vampire, so we can be together forever, right? Lisa asked with a sad smile. Vlad nodded pathetically. She knows me so well. He thought as Lisa hugged him, her head on his chest. I know, you are worried about losing me, but I am a human, so I only have so much time before I must go. Lisa stated. But please, Lisa, think about it. Vlad said in slight desperation as he grabbed her shoulders and pushed her far enough to look her in the eyes. I don't want to think of a world without you in it. Adrian's death is hurting him more than I thought. Lisa thought as Vlad shamefully closed his eyes. I don't want to be alone. Vlad admitted. Lisa jabbed him in the chest. You alone? She asked with slight anger, crossing her arms. From what I remember, you have a daughter-in-law and a grandchild on the way. So, even if I do die, you will have someone there for you. It won't be the same. Vlad replied. Lisa sighed as she turned to walk. I know. She stated. But if you act selfishly, then I feel like you will not be yourself, dear. Vlad walked next to his wife. Yes, you are right. He admitted. They arrived back to their castle in silence. Meanwhile, Kyoto Cemetery. Naruto sat in the cemetery with a tea kettle, a water husk, and some wood with tea leaves. He sat before Iroha's grave, which was beside Marco's, Luten's, Yoshimaru's, and Nico's. Naruto set up the wood, his finger igniting it with blue flames. Thank you, Matatabi. Naruto thought as he poured the water into the tea kettle. No problem, Naruto. Matatabi purred as she and the rest of her siblings watched through Naruto's eyes. Naruto set the kettle above the blue fire, waiting patiently as it boiled. Once it was boiled, Naruto pulled out 2 tea bowls, a chalk-in, tea caddy, tea whisk, and a tea scoop. Using the scoop, Naruto added tea to the tea bowls, then added hot water before he mixed the tea and water with the whisk. "Here you go, Grandpa," Naruto said as he placed the cup of jasmine tea on said yokai's grave, sadly smiling. "So, Tamamo and I are going to be parents soon, 4 or so months." He got no reply, just wanting to talk out loud. "If it's a boy, I was thinking of naming the child after you," Naruto continued as he sipped some of his tea. "If it's a girl, I'll let Tamamo decide." Still, no answer. Naruto's smile faltered. "I know, you are wondering why I am not at Adrian's funeral right now," he stated in shame. I just don't think I would be appropriate for his murderer to be there." Naruto sat in silence as he stared guiltily at Iroha's grave. Nothing was said, but Naruto could understand what Iroha would have said. Nodding without saying anything, Naruto finished his tea, and made a shadow clone to clean up as he opened a portal to Wallachia. 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 Tamamo held Hilda as they started to stand up, since Tamamo had to go home. Before she or Hilda could take a single step, Naruto appeared through his portal, closing it, and his Rinne Sharingan as his feet hit the ground. "Naruto?" Tamamo asked in surprise as she saw her husband suddenly appear. Naruto blinked, expecting to have been alone when he arrived. "Sorry," he apologized as he turned to Adrian's grave. "I just wanted to pay respects, you know?" Naruto looked at his friend's grave, feeling his heart weigh heavy, nearly overpowering him. "Hey, Adrian." Naruto said as he sat on the grass. "I know, I might be the last person you want to hear, but I just wanted to say." He took a deep breath, wiping his eyes of the tears watering in them. "I just wanted to say that I am happy we were friends, no, we were brothers, and I wish you peace in the next life." Naruto continued. "And that I am happy you are now in a better place." Hilda separated from Tamamo, and sat next to Naruto. "Thank you, Naruto." Hilda thanked as she touched her husband's tombstone. "He would be happy knowing you came here to say goodbye." "Thank you, Hilda," Naruto stated as he stood up, helping Hilda up. "You need help home?" "No, my guards will help me," Hilda stated as said bodyguards appeared. "Have a good day, oh." "Lady Teeps, you alright?" one of the guards asked as she nearly doubled over, clutching her belly. "Nothing's wrong," Hilda stated, smiling a bit. "Just the baby kicking." She felt a second kick. "Want to feel, Naruto, Tamamo?" Hilda asked as she looked at her friends. Tamamo walked up and touched Hilda's belly, smiling brightly. "Naruto, you have to feel the baby," Tamamo said with a bright smile. Naruto slowly touched Hilda's stomach, and felt weepy. The tiny unborn child inside Hilda's womb had its untamed magic flowing in all directions. "It feels like Adrian's magic," Naruto thought as he smiled. "She is going to be very strong," Naruto blurted out as he removed his hand from Hilda's belly. "I'm going to have a girl?" Hilda gasped, covering her mouth with her hands. Naruto was smacked by Tamamo. "Stupid, you shouldn't have said that," Tamamo stated angrily, making Naruto chuckle.